Good evening and welcome to Biz In Focus. I'm Zeenat Musafir. Joining us this evening is a regular guest on our show, Dr. Chandran Buldenia, founder, Vice Chancellor of the Uva Villas University. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
So, today we're going to talk about some of the key aspects of the education sector and some of the problems that Sri Lanka is currently facing with the local education industry. Doctor, so a bulk of students tend to pursue arts and commerce. But how do we change this trend? Because clearly this is not the trend in terms of the labour market. It's not what the labour market demands for. So how do we increase student participation in other sectors apart from commerce and arts?
I think that's a very important question, Zeenat. When you look at the statistics, it is really appalling that we have gone through this education system and tried to develop this country with the numbers that we generate from the education system. From the school education, as we all now we know very well that more than 160,000 students who qualify to enter a university and only around 30,000 students who step into the university. And out of that, we find about more than 70% of the students are from the art stream as well as from the commerce stream. Now, everything else occupies the remaining about less than 30% of the students in the university system. Now, when you look at the our traditional economy, we have been looking at, on the one hand, engineering students, on the other hand, the medical students, right? Other studies fell into the middle because parents have been thinking always about engineer or doctor for my son or daughter. So finally, all the other streams are in the middle. Now, when we look at the economy, we have three main sectors. What are the three main sectors? Agriculture, industry, and services. And when you look at the contribution to the GDP from each one of these sectors, that the largest contribution comes from the service sector, and then the industry, which is about 27%, and the remaining small amount is about agriculture. It is now below about 10% actually. So because that sector is also enjoying a lot of the tax concessions, like from the now fertilizer is also going to be given free to the sector. Now, the sectors need to contribute to the GDP. Then we need the learned people coming from the universities to contribute in these sectors. Currently, if you look at the numbers, you find there's a imbalance in the agriculture students who are passing out from the university system and the contribution they are making in the agriculture sector. The agriculture sector, let's say 10%, which is not, of course, it is less than that. But the students coming out from the university system are about 1.6% from the agriculture stream. But then on the other side, we have the art stream and the commerce stream generating about this 70% or more students. Now, agriculture is one area where we can transform students into the from the arts and the commerce streams very easily. And I think some of them don't go into the practical side of agriculture, but they being graduates, they want to be doing all kinds of managerial things. But that transformation of the mindset is something that we really need to look forward to. Therefore, we really need to get the transformations originating from the school itself. Now, the school, I find that is the teachers are either graduate teachers or trained teachers, which I mean the largest, about I think about 97% of the teachers are either graduates or trained, and little below 50% of the teachers are graduate teachers, and more than 50% are trained teachers. There are two classes of training happening in Sri Lanka, but the transformation of the mindset of our children, I recognize, should begin from these training institutions, because that is where the teachers are trained, and the children have to get this message of transformation from the teachers. It's nothing about telling the children that you are going to be transformed into something else, but it is how you teach and what you teach. Now, in the plan of things, actually, what we have to look at is the multidisciplinary approach and the integrated learning approach to our future children. Because why we are talking so much about arts faculties, just to remind that we have more than 70% of the students coming from arts and commerce. So yes, that is where the main effort that we should put.
Talking about universities, Doctor, now as per the 2017-2018 data that you shared with me earlier, approximately 163,160 students were qualified to enter university. This was in 2017 and 2018.
Yeah.
But only 31,415 students were absorbed to the university system. What happens to the rest?
Well, that's the other mystery question, actually. They get distributed in several different places. Some of them go straight into the work place. Some of them get into the private education institutions, like the private university franchise operation. There are no private universities as such, most of them are franchise operations. We have the tertiary vocational education system in our country, where a lot of students find a place in this system. There is, of course, large number of private vocational education institutions, and also there are a large number of government-owned institutions. Now, so you can imagine 130,000 students getting distributed in these areas. But the worst part is, when I say worst part, it is for the country worse, that a large number of students are leaving the shores to go to foreign universities.
Now, Doctor, with regard to the students who are not absorbed to the university system,
yeah,
do you think the government should take some sort of steps to provide them with some other qualification? Maybe not a baccalaureate's degree, but at least a similar or maybe an equivalent qualification that is recognized by the public and private sector in Sri Lanka?
Very, very true. I think the present government has very wisely put this on their agenda, that there should be 100% absorption of all the qualified students into some form of further, higher education.
Yes, because they are all qualified students, so
exactly,
they can be productive to the country.
Yeah, all the students want to be learning something at that age, and that is the best age where they can really absorb things and then become very productive. So, now, what is the solution that we can really look for in getting these students these opportunities? Now, 30,000 in the state sector, even if we double that, still there will be another about 100,000 students left out from the system. So, the private higher education institutions in our country should come forward with their strategy to help the government strategy to absorb these students into more productive development oriented programs. But everyone is going for a very popular type of education, which most people understand, that is this getting a business degree or getting a MBA for the postgraduate students. I find the postgraduate work totally irrelevant now in the context of getting economically useful. They have become, gap filling in their CVs as a qualified postgraduate, but not really qualified to deal with the economic situation in our country. Now, if we have an economic vision for the country, we need to really produce the people who are really set to get involved with the hands-on economic work.
Now, Doctor, we're talking about technology. With the fourth industrial revolution, I think technology and STEM education, that is science, mathematics, engineering and technology, for key areas in the education sector. We've discussed this on our show before. How do we incorporate these subjects into our current education system?
Now, in the schools, we teach them science. We teach them mathematics also. There is nothing called engineering that we teach in the school. Then also technology there is to most students in the secondary level. Now, but in STEM practice, STEM is a practice and it is an experience for the students. There is no particular curriculum as such that is called STEM. It is the individual subjects that get adjusted to create the integrated mindset, the practical experience that the students get. Now, from the primary level, you can build it up, but you are not teaching the student this is science, this is mathematics, this is like that. We don't go on teaching that, but we try to create a situation where the students get this experience and they grow with that experience, and the integration of the mindset happens with that experience. So, all these subjects get into your head as you go up the learning process. The students, when they come to the 9th grade, their mindset is very well integrated to adapt to this the thing called STEM education. Now, this is where we really need to transform the art students to bring that kind of aesthetics into the scientific exploratory scientific work in the country. And this can be done, I mean, it's so much easier to say than done, but changing the mindset, adapting and then using training colleges are the first place that we can really get the transformation happening. And then we also have to do the transformation with the graduates. Now, if somebody asks me this question, perhaps you, yes. Actually, the art students, how can we transform them, right? So it's the transformation of the curriculum of studies in whatever that they are doing to fit the needs of the industry.
So, Doctor, now from where should or when should this change start?
Immediately.
No, for example, should it start from the primary level, or should it start from your O-level curriculum or A-level curriculum, or should it start from grade 1? Yeah,
actually, if you start from grade 1, something will take more than 13 plus another about 4-5 years. That means about 18. We can't look for development in our country for another 20 years. That's not the way it works. So, we have to really work backwards from what we immediately need and then into the learning processes. So, now if I am doing it, I will say, okay, we will start from the university system, okay? We will start from the tertiary vocational education system. We will start from the grades 9 backwards, right? So in the sense that the secondary education in the schools is the best place where you can look for midterm results in development, and immediate applications will come from the university who are students who are passing out. Then also we have this thing about the graduates who are passed out within the last 2-3 years, and most of them have been absorbed in the teaching profession. So they are also, once they get adapted to the STEAM thinking, they can become very useful instruments or resources I'm sorry for the word, but it's actually using them as very good hands-on resources in the development process. The country is going to need a lot of production in our country. There is no way that we can develop by importing things from.
Yes, it has to be an export-oriented economy.
It has to be. You can call it export or manufacturing for our own country, because so much technology is available to make things match anything that is being imported from anywhere else. It's only the mind, how you focus on the production process, developing your value chain, then going for the as many suppliers from Sri Lanka as possible to get the end product. Today it's a process of assembly, then manufacturing. If you're manufacturing, try to export. If you're producing for something for the local market, try to assemble. Okay, and now because most countries are putting restrictions on us on value addition. If you don't add so much value, then you are not allowed to export. So our people get stuck there. And all these trade agreements are really restricted for us in that sense. So we need, and also once you enter the non-tariff barriers, there's no point having credit lines if we don't get the opportunity to use that credit to produce and export something there. You see, so basically I don't think I have, because in 1998 also I was involved with the free trade agreement, and then also, you know, we had a lot of expectations, and then gradually we saw how it evolved over the years. Our major players didn't have a great chance of increasing their exports. So of course they found other places to export, but not to these particular places where we are really concerned about.
Thank you, Doctor. And that was Dr. Chandra Embudenia, Founder, Vice Chancellor of the Wellas University. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us this evening amidst your busy schedule. And stay tuned for more of the latest business updates after these commercials.